Hi, I'm Asterales Sedai of the Yellow Archer. Here is a recap for non-book readers of Season 1, Episode 8, The Eye of the World, of The Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime. If you're like me and can't get enough positive Wheel of Time content in your life, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Spoiler warning, I will be discussing characters and events up to Episode 8, but nothing that happens differently or later in the books. This is safe as long as you've seen the first full season of The Wheel of Time. Let's go! This episode opens with the furthest flashback scene yet, a full 3,000 years ago. The two characters are speaking a different language. This is the old tongue from the Age of Legends, and they're having a disagreement. The man in black wants to try to cage the Dark One, while the woman in white says it's too dangerous and refuses to be a part of it. They agree to disagree. She calls him Luz Theron Telamon, Dragon Reborn. He calls her Latra Posse Decime, Tamerlan Seat. He comforts his baby as she walks out. Outside the window is a futuristic utopia of flying vehicles and glass skyscrapers. This is the past that was destroyed in the breaking that Moraine referred to in the opening of Episode 1. The episode then picks up where Episode 7 left off, with Moraine and Rand in the Blight. Moraine stumbles across a bloated rotten corpse and initially gags, but quickly recovers back to her mask of Aes Sedai serenity by the time Rand reaches the same thing. She reminds him not to touch anything, and that the Blight is like a rot caused by the Dark One. In Faldara, Egwene is crying and packing. Even when she's upset, she has to do something. Perrin comes in as the voice of reason. They can't possibly follow Rand if they don't have Moraine as a guide. Egwene admits she loves Rand, but accepts Perrin has a point, and asks if they're all right. Perrin reassures her they'll always be all right, and she buries herself in his arms like a little sister needing a comforting hug. Back in the Blight, Moraine spots a landmark and says they can rest. These are the 7 Towers of Malkier, and Rand recalls that is where Lan said he's from. He notes it looks like it's been that way thousands of years, but Moraine says it's only been about 40. The Blight spreads its rot quickly. Rand asks if it was hard to leave Lan behind, and Moraine changes the topic rather than answering him. Nynaeve approaches Lan, looking out over the Blight from Moraine's rooms. She asks if he's alright, and if he can feel anything of Moraine through the bond. Lan tells her that she doesn't want to be followed, and he shows a mix of frustration and forced acceptance. It's his life's purpose to keep her safe. Nynaeve admits that she didn't track Lan, she followed Moraine, and offers to tell him how. Lan's surprised that she's willing for him to go without her, but she trusts him to bring Rand back. Lan says to Nynaeve in a gentle caress, "I will hate the man you choose, because he is not me, and I will love him if he makes you smile." Rand startles awake in the Blight. There's green growing on his hand. Moraine asks him what he's dreaming of, because dreams have meaning, but there's no time for her to hear Rand's reply. This episode's jump scare is a sword straight through her mouth, reminiscent of the Dark Friend, who got a knife through her throat in Episode 3. The sword is held by the man with glowing embers for eyes. Rand shoots him at point-blank range with his bow, but the man simply pushes the arrow through his eye, revealing a normal human face and voice. He calls Rand Luz Theron, the name from the opening flashback. Rand tries to convince himself he's dreaming. The man seems disappointed by Rand, like he's an adversary that's not even worth fighting. Rand pulls Tam's sword on him, and finally, the man is mildly impressed by the heron marking, even if he's not threatened in the least. He has a mocking laugh when Rand says it's from his father. Looks like he knows who Rand's real father was. Rand turns the sword and plunges it into himself to, quote-unquote, wake from the dream. Rand then wakes for real, and Moraine asks again, what did he dream? Reminding him, dreams have meaning. Rand tells her it was the Dark One, but when she asks what he said, he gives an answer fit for an Aes Sedai, simply stating, I don't believe a word he said. He insists on Moraine telling him the plan, and she relents and gives him a special object. She calls it a sangreal. It's the little figurine she wrapped up in Episode 1. This magical object will allow Rand to channel much more of the One power than he could otherwise. The plan is Swan's plan, really, the one she came up with after a dream, for him to use it to put the Dark One away where he belongs. But even Rand can see, it's a bit of a desperate plan. They're relying on Rand knowing what to do at the right moment. Egwene approaches Nynaeve listening to the wind. It's bookending what happened in Episode 1. This time, Nynaeve says she hears nothing, but when Egwene listens, she hears the same wrong sounds that she did at Beltane, but this time much louder and worse. In the Blight, Ran asks Moraine if she will teach him to channel. Moraine refuses, saying that every time he channels is a step towards madness, but that when he needs to channel, it will come instinctively. She admits to Rand that when she was training in the White Tower, she had trouble channeling, and an Aes Sedai literally beat it out of her with weaves of air and fire. She reassures Rand that when his life is on the line, the power will be there for him, and all he needs to do is channel it into the Sangreal. In Faldara, the remaining two Rivers folk march up to Min in the bar, demanding to know what she said to Moraine about Rand. She refuses, but then looks up to see Nynaeve burning up and the soldiers in the bar dying violent deaths. An alarm sounds, and she's saved from having to say anything else as the soldiers exit the bar in response to the call. Even in the Blight, Rand and Moraine can hear something is happening outside Faldara. They turn back to see a horde of Trollocs approaching the fortified gap. The Lord of Faldara is getting the same military update, and he commands all his men to move there in support. He also cryptically tells his other commanders, "You know what you need to do." Looks like they have a special emergency option. The lady is concerned. She knows the numbers don't add up, and he is likely going to his death. Rand and Moraine have reached their destination. It's a circular well-like structure. This must be the Eye of the World. Rand thinks it looks familiar, and finally clues on regarding what Moraine said about anyone that's not the dragon dying if they follow. This would include Moraine. It dawns on him exactly what this means to Moraine, that she's willing to sacrifice herself for this mission. Elsewhere in the Blight, Lan is closing in on them. The lady helps the brother, the Lord, dress in his armour for the battle. In this quiet moment, he finally admits that he was wrong, and that they should have asked for help earlier, in particular from the White Tower Aes Sedai. The gap and the city will fall, but they have a chance to hold out for as long as they can, so they can get a warning out to the other cities. The siblings are both determined and dignified in the face of these terrible odds. It's a glimpse of what Lan's Malkia nation went through 40 years ago. Rand and Moraine have reached the bottom and centre of the Eye. Moraine admits the White Tower knows nothing about this place. Rand tells her that he sees a vision of his previous self, Luce Theron, fighting the Dark One, the man from his dreams. He bends down to touch the symbol in the centre, and is immediately transported to a different place. It's a home in the mountains of the Two Rivers. Outside, his wife Egwene is playing with his baby girl, Joya. This is the life he has always dreamed of, but it's the one he said goodbye to in episode 1, when Egwene broke the news that she was going to become a wisdom's apprentice. In the real world, Moraine is trying to rouse an unconscious Rand. Standing there is the man from Rand's dreams. Moraine immediately channels to attack him. Remember, the O's will allow her to use the power if she thinks this is the Dark One. But the man dismisses the attack casually and throws a shield on her almost instantaneously. He then pinches his hand and something that looks like a knot forms. Something very terrible has happened to Moraine. It's the same look of utter despair that was on Logain. The man confirms what's happened. Moraine can no longer touch the One Power. In Faldara, the Lord's troops ride to fortify the gap, and the gates are open to allow foreigners to flee. This includes Min. Every woman and child stays behind to fight. The lady says to remove everything from the armory and leave nothing in reserve. This is the last stand. She puts out a call for any woman who can channel and rallies the women who are still left in the city. Light, protect Faldara, the city that has never fallen. In the middle of the battle preparations, Nynaeve, Egwene and Perrin are stuck for what to do, until Loial comes up and informs them of the call for women who can channel. Egwene immediately looks to Nynaeve, but she's more reluctant. She's already lost Mat and Rand, and she doesn't want to lose anyone else, just like the Black Wind taunted. The Trollocs have started zerging the gap. The Lord also rallies his troops, then says, "May the last embrace of the mother welcome you home." This is the same line Moraine said during Karini's funeral in episode 5. He knows this is the final moment for many of his men. Between the gap and the city, 3 lone women stand on an open plain. Being able to channel is relatively rare in this world, only 3 women in the whole city, but they are joined by Nynaeve and Egwene. 2 from the same little village would be very unusual, and that's really 3 if you count Rand. In the fortress, Perrin is upset that they're just sitting there while everyone else is doing something useful. Loial starts to say that he's standing, but is interrupted as always by a further outburst from Perrin. When finally able to speak, Loial provides important words of wisdom. If you want to help but don't know how, all you need to do is ask. Back with Rand, he's beginning to suspect something's not quite right about his dream life with Egwene. He tries to ask her something only she would know, but she answers correctly, and he's relieved. It really is her. They kiss, but she freezes. In fact, everything is frozen. The man from the dream walks up, telling him that with the power that Rand has, he can remake the world in his own image. And surprise, surprise, this man can generously show him how. Not suspicious at all. In the real world, he is crouched down, taunting Moiraine, who is cradling the unconscious Rand. She pulls a knife to Rand's throat. She's very serious about killing him before allowing him to turn to the shadow. In the throne room, the commanders who are working on the mysterious emergency plan are annoyed at being disturbed, but immediately change their response when they see one of them is Loial. Glory to the builders. Clearly, Ogier are highly respected in the Borderlands. Perrin asks how they can help, and they get to work digging. When they find what they're after, it's the Horn of Valir, an instrument to be blown at the last battle by the dragon to bring back the greatest heroes of the pattern. But earlier, the peddler, along with 2 Fades, had entered the keep with a secret code. It looks like someone high up has betrayed the city. The commanders are distracted by noises outside the throne room and leave the box unguarded. By the time Perrin returns to the throne room, there's a scene of carnage. The commanders have been attacked by Fades, and Loial has been stabbed by the peddler. The peddler sheathes the dagger. It looks like Matt's dagger from Shadar Logoth. How did he get that? He explains that all 5 of the villages are Ta'veren, or focal points in the pattern, and that they're hunted by the Dark One because, statistically, some of them should turn to the shadow, hopefully all. Perrin picks up an axe, but doesn't use it, and he watches them walk away with the stolen horn. In the outside battle, the Lord takes a spear to the chest, and once the gap has been breached, the Trollocs start pouring out towards the women. The lady explains how they need to link up, but when they do, it looks a bit different from when the Aes Sedai link up to Gentle Loghain. Then, everyone funneled into Liandrin, but not each other. Here, the power flows between them all. Nynaeve and Egwene are significantly stronger than the others, and this can be seen in their brighter flows. The lady has never experienced such sheer power. She holds until they are very close, as this is the range she's probably used to channeling with, and then sends out a mighty shockwave with lightning blasts that bursts the Trollocs to pieces. In the process, one of the channelers is burnt out. The Trollocs are gone, but the lady refuses to let go. The power is just too addictive. Nynaeve crawls over to save Egwene, and repeats the lines from the first episode. To be a woman is to be always alone, and never alone. She diverts some of the power from Egwene, just as the lady pulls far too much and burns herself out. Nynaeve herself passes out, but as Egwene is crying over her nearly dead body, she is able to heal her back to consciousness. In the dream world, the man cuts Egwene's throat, then heals it again. In the real world, Moiraine presses into Rand's throat in the same location. In the dream world, the man pushes Rand to channel by emptying himself of all emotion and just willing what he wants into being. Rand starts channeling, and the black coating covers it, just as with Loghain. He doesn't use it on the frozen baby, though. He turns to face the man, and in the real world, the sa'angreal begins to light up. He says to the man that as much as this is what he wants, this is not what Egwene wanted, and therefore this is not the real woman he loves. In the real world, he stands up in a trance and sends the one power directly into the man. The disc under them cracks, and as the man disappears, he smiles. Moiraine catches Rand, and he says that it is done. He's worried about going mad, and asks Moiraine to tell everyone he's died so he can run away. She says she can't lie, but he knows she'll find a way. Rand heads towards a new destination alone. Lan finally reaches Moiraine, alone at the Broken Eye. In response to Lan's question of Rand's whereabouts, she simply shakes her head and responds, he's gone. Rand was right, and Aes Sedai can always find a way to tell their version of truth. Lan pleads in desperation for the bond to be unmasked so he can feel her again, but she says she can't. She breaks down as she tells him that she can no longer touch the source. When she recovers, she shows Lan what she was holding, a broken piece of Quendia, the supposedly impossible to break Heartstone. She tells him that this means what they thought was the last battle was probably just the first. We cut to black, but there's one last thing. On the far western shore where ships have been disappearing, a lone girl with no adult supervision plays on the beach as a fleet of ships approaches. On one ship, 4 women dressed in a strange uniform come out. The 2 behind have gold braces and face markings. The 2 in front have mouth coverings and gold neck collars and are wearing plain grey dresses. The 2 behind speak a command, and the women in front channel in unison. Every ship has something similar, and identical channeling weaves combine to form a giant tidal wave. We cut to black for the last time this season. Thanks for watching. If you liked my spoiler-free summary of this episode, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for future updates. And remember, yellows make the world a better place.